And I'm Sharon. Thank you very much for your listening.
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to have opportunity here to focus on the Asia Pacific wind market. And my name is Joseph Dang. I'm working for a World Forum Offshore Wind. I'm the China country representative. WFO is a non-profit organization founded in 2018. We represent the whole complete offshore wind value chain. We have international setup office in Hamburg and Singapore. I think the news is this year we have 3 more new offices in New York, Tokyo, and Taipei. The main activity for WFO is lobbying, information, and connect. Normally we have the annual offline events every year, but because of COVID, I think we move most of the activity online at the moment. We also publish offshore wind report, half-year report as well, which we will talk about a bit more later today. The member, at the moment, we have about more than 55 in the first half year of 2020. After 6 months, in 2020, end of 2020, we have a few more, as you can see on the slides here. But I want to point out 2 companies, Mingyang, the OEM from China, and CGN, one of the biggest developer in China as well. So we do have a good representative for all around the world in China as well. Obviously, we'd like more people to join us, so we have a bigger, stronger voice for the offshore wind all around the world. We publish our half-year report every 6 months and full-year report. Everybody can freely download the full report on our website, which I show it here. So in our 2020 second half-year report, I would like to talk a little bit more about the second 2 dark bar on the right-hand side. The first half year for the total global capacity increased from 28 gigawatt to 2020 32 gigawatts. That means we have reached, from the second half year, we installed more compared to the first 6 months of 136 megawatts, even with the COVID spreading all around the world. So the world right now, there are 162 offshore wind farms currently in operation. I want to point out here, we only put the data in when all the turbines installed and the first electricity being generated. That's why some of the figures is quite different from other agencies as well. So for the second half year of 2020, there's very robust growth. If we look into detail, there's 10 wind farms globally installed for the first half year and only 5 in the second half year. They mainly spread in UK, China, Germany, Portugal, Belgium, Netherlands, and USA. We will look into more detail later. But we can also see the average size of the wind farms increase as well from 325 to 347, from 19 to 20. If we look at the top market for 2020, I've tried to put more information in one slide here. The bottom bar is for the first half year, and the top one is the second half year. UK, we made the world biggest offshore wind market for more than 10 gigawatts, and Germany after that. But you can see in the second half year of the 2020, UK and Germany hardly make any change because there's nothing been installed in the last 6 months. And on the contrary, China is leading the way. The growing rapidly in China for 1.4 gigawatts for the first half year and 700 megawatts for the second half year new installation. Jump from the 6th to the 4th position and swap places with Belgium and Denmark. If you look at the offshore wind farm under construction, China is leading the way with 4.4 gigawatt, about 44% of the total global offshore wind capacity. And Taiwan's have 2 large-scale projects. That's why you see Taiwan's on the 3rd position. And UK is very encouraging news because the first over 1 gigawatt project, 1.4 gigawatts project start construction. And if we look at the size of the wind farm, we mentioned before, for the first half year is 325 average size of the offshore wind farm, increased to 347. But those under construction wind farm, they're even bigger, 381 megawatts. That's why we can see everybody want to have a bigger wind farm in economy of scale. And I want to mention again here, we only put the data in as a construction site when the first offshore wind foundation is installed. If we look at the detail of those 26 construction projects, obviously a lot of them in China, as I said before, it's about 44%. But if you look in the detail, quite a lot of them is coming from one OEM, Mingyang. So they have a lot of order in 2020 under construction order. So we see a lot of wind farm, offshore wind farm being under construction from China. So one of the reasons I think most of people will know, because everybody tried to meet the deadline for 2021 December, because after, if you miss the deadline, you will lose a lot of national subsidy. That's the reason why, if we, the data is up to 2019 December, if we look at the whole, all the developer, including onshore and offshore, the wind asset, the top 5 developers, they're all Chinese state-owned enterprise. And mainly they are wind farm onshore, offshore, or in China. This gives us a big trend. The impact when they stop the national subsidy policy, when the local offshore policy still have a lot of uncertainty. So if you are one of, for example, CTG have 11 projects of 3.5 gigawatt and CGN have 1 gigawatt, loads of projects on the pipeline, you'll be worried if you miss the deadline, what's going to happen. Another thing happening in Chinese market, I look a little bit further back from the feed-in tariffs to the bidding process. When you start the bidding process, the price is the only thing you can bid is the price. I think in 2019, the first ever bidding process projects been won by CTG with Shanghai Electric. I think the project's near Shanghai. The winning price is quite close to the feed-in tariff price at the time. But after the end of this year, when there's no national level of subsidies, that means that everybody have to compete with the coal power fire station. So in order to get to the target for the parity, the cost reduction pressure is really high. You can see the turbine have to reduce 35, the offshore engineering 30, O&M 20%. For most of the market or the country, it will take them 3 to 10 years to get to this level. But for the Chinese developer, they have less than a year to get this if they miss the deadline. On the supply and demand market, when everybody wants to finish their offshore wind farm, obviously everybody wants a vessel. That's why the vessel price has been doubled in the last year in China as well. We do know the large vessel shortage will be peaking in 2025 worldwide. That means in the next few years, there's a big problem for any developer, not only in China. There is 2 very painful lessons learned by the Chinese. I think one lesson is the onshore wind have a similar meeting the deadline and everybody trying to finish their onshore wind farm. That's why a lot of crane being deployed, and after the deadline, suddenly we have a lot of crane there. Nobody know how to deal with that. And also in the offshore oil and gas sector, a lot of vessels being deployed because the price is good, and suddenly the prices drop, a lot of redundancy. So I think in this case, is the Chinese government have stepped in to clean up the whole mess. I think at the end, it's the taxpayer to pick up the bill. But for long term, 2030, the national target is 60 gigawatts. If we look at the basic fundamental economic, the new energy is still very in demand, not only in China, anywhere in the world. With the Chinese economy growing more than 5-6% every year, still a very strong growth, and the cost reduction and maturity of the supply chain is still very optimistic for the 60 gigawatts target in 2030. We are very lucky we have a official social media partner in China. The name is called Offshore Wind EU. They have 25,000 active members at the moment. I think in China, the wind industry, offshore wind industry, is about between 15,000 to 20,000. So this social media, just like the offshore wind Chinese Facebook, everybody's there. So that's why I talked to them. Why not we just get the top 10 news from 2020 so we can go through them and see what people talk about, what people think is important. So you can see the top 10 news here, but I don't think we have time to go through the detail. I will just highlight some detail here. The top one is obviously when something goes wrong, people want to talk about it. It's one of the crane ship under construction in Guangdong is broken. They got 23,000 view. And then the next two is all related to the government national subsidy, because people, one of the proposal on the third is a proposal ask the government to postpone the wind power subsidy, give everybody a bit more time. And now the next one is about the supply chain. It's talk about the vessel because people can't buy a vessel. The next two is related to the foreign investment. I think is one from Equinor. EDF and Ørsted, they both team up with the Chinese developer, start doing the offshore wind farm in China. And there's few news is related to the Chinese government need to go to Europe, go to France, and China Tower Enterprise bought one of the German bankrupt tower foundation company, and GE start making their 12 megawatt turbine in China as well, offshore turbine, and go win some contract with a very low price. We can see that the whole year, people not only focus on the Chinese market, but also slowly integrate the offshore market in China with the world. I think this is the trend we can see. As a non-profit organization, we try to be the voice of the whole supply chain of industry. That's why I did ask them, how come we do heard something even more terrible happen in China? One of the vessels being flooded with the seawater. Why not? That's not on the news at all. I think they show me the data is more than 100,000 hit for that news. For some reason, it cannot be displayed in China. That's why it's been eliminated. So we'd like to cover a little bit about the floating wind in China, because I think floating is very important. There are in total 3 prototypes in China at the moment. They all looking into Power X, hydrogen, and fishing farming, because it's still early day. They want to find a better way to cut costs. For China, if you're familiar with the Chinese seabed, the biggest challenge for the floating wind in China is the water depth in China. Even though you go out from the shore about 100 kilometers, still between 30 to 50 meters. So think about that. If you have some floating, that depends on the foundation in a very shallow sea when the typhoon season comes and the waves high, and you might have a risk to hit the bottom. I think this is very important for the Chinese offshore wind. Obviously, the mooring design is very costly in the East seabed because there's lots of rock around there. But we do have some optimistic, trying to combine a few digital puzzles together. So in 10 years' time, lots of report commentator forecast the floating wind can drop by 40%. And we also know the vessel shortage will peak in 2025. Think about it, if you are a CDG or CGN developer, you think maybe we can change some of the bottom fix in our sea into floating because of the price will be economic reasonable. So in that case, we might see some floating project or more floating project in 5 to 10 years time in China. Also depends on their prototype, how fast they develop their technology as well. For the floating wind news, I want to talk a little bit about Ideal, one of our members here. They just announced they been bought by another shipping company, BW. Actually, the history about BW is quite interesting. It's the 3rd generation. Mr. Bao is created a company from Hong Kong. I think is his daughter's husband is the 2nd generation, and now is the son, the 3rd generation. So there's another interesting case is the chief executive of Hong Kong before, Dong Qihua. He also owned a shipping company. I think he sold the company to the Chinese, I can't remember the name, one of the state-owned shipping company. So we might think maybe in the floating wind industry, the Chinese influence will slowly grow stronger. Lucky enough, next week, I think March 18, there is online seminar free of charge for everybody, which is arranged by WFO. I think Gunnar, our MD, is organizing that. I think Bruno, the marketing director, will be one of the speakers. If you guys want to ask more questions, maybe you can join that section. So what's the future? I think the geopolitics is very important because renewable, wind, energy, they always mix up with the politics sometimes because now we have a new US administration back to the table now. We have the good player, but we also have this interesting news in the Bohai Sea near Shantung. The Chinese find worth 100 years oil field there. So if we dig them up, it can last for 100 years. So it's all about the cost. But we also see the Chinese bank and companies funding and building most of the coal power station in the world. So how this negative and positive news, they add up together. It's all about the price competition. We also know there are lots of government talking about carbon tax. If that really happen, we really shift the consumer behavior. I think that's quite important. We also have the EU-China renewable investment deal. That means some company from Europe might follow GE step to invest more in China. And also the Chinese company will go out more. For example, Mingyang just won the first ever offshore project in Mediterranean Sea. They installed, I think, 10 units of their 3 megawatt turbine. We also have what happened in Texas, the big freeze. Very cold, people dying. Maybe this will change the momentum and change the government policy as well. So you're welcome to download the full report on this website, which I show it here. The last slide is some of my technical information. I know in the day when we have this presentation, we have a Q&A section. I will be there to answering questions. That's my 15 minutes. Thank you.